This episode contains discussion of an infant death, arson, and a missing persons case. Some details may be disturbing. Listener discretion is advised.
July 12, 2007, Sykesville, Pennsylvania. A house explodes into flames in the 90 block of Fugate Drive in Jefferson County. Friends, family, and neighbors believed a 33-year-old mother and her newborn baby were inside. But when firefighters got the 3-alarm fire under control, what they discovered would shock a small town and continue to baffle authorities to this day. This is a case where the evidence does not add up, and the timeline feels like it was designed to hide the truth. This is Joey Lynn Offutt, Vanished in the Dark. Hey y'all, I'm Kris Calvert.
And I'm her husband, Rob Potter. Welcome to Hitched to Homicide.
For better or worse.
Till death do us part.
Welcome back, everybody.
Yes, welcome. And for our friends in Mongolia. This is a tough one.
Okay.
Tavtai Mor... See, I told you. Tavtai Morlagtun. Tavtai Morlagtun. Tavtai Morlagtun.
You know what that reminds me of?
What?
The Meet the Parents, where he's like,
Jack can talk Thai. Jack talk Thai very well.
no, Jack talk Thai. Jack talk Thai really good.
That's it, exactly. Oh, man.
Well, wherever you're listening, be sure to subscribe to Hitched to Homicide, then like, rate, and review the podcast so other people who are just like you and love true crime can also find us and show up at Hitched to Homicide.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button below. If you want true crime with us all the time, please go join our closed Facebook group, The In-Laws and the Outlaws. It's closed, meaning you gotta ask to join and you gotta answer some questions.
Yes.
Go to Facebook, type in H2H, In-Laws and Outlaws, answer those very important questions, and you are in. Go join.
Yes, and I'm very excited this morning because we had to take Chris's dad to the airport today. And on the way back, we stopped at Chick-fil-A, and I have my, what's it called?
They call it a diet Sunjoy now, but it's half diet lemonade, half unsweetened iced tea.
It's basically an Arnold Palmer.
It's a skinny Arnold.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
Though. It's my favorite.
It's so good in the South. We love it. And if you don't have a Chick-fil-A in your area, I'll pray for you.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry.
Sorry about that.
But go join the In-Laws and Outlaws. I like to post photos and other information in there as well. We love them. That's a great group of folks. We love them so much.
Yep.
You can find us on Instagram at Hitched to Homicide or on X at H2H_podcast. And we also have a Buy Me a Coffee link, even though he's drinking his skinny Arnold today.
No, I've got my coffee back.
Oh, never mind. He's double fisting.
Yeah. Kris can't see me because she's in the booth and I'm out here at the console. So
yeah, it's not really a booth. It's a whole room. So it's not like I'm stuck in a closet somewhere. It's a recording room. So
it's a 15 by 15 recording booth.
He drinks coffee every episode, except for today, where he's also drinking
I'm
his Chick-fil-A drink.
Yep.
You can find that link in our show notes. You can also send us a text, and the link to that is at the top of the show notes where it says, send Kris and Rob a text.
Yep.
It was Groundhog Day this past Monday.
It's Groundhog Day!
Is it ever?
And Punxsutawney Phil saw his shadow.
Boo!
Which means 6 more weeks of winter.
No!
And y'all, we've been like snowed in
God.
at our house. I mean, we can barely make it up the driveway. Our driveway is on an incline, and I have an SUV.
Yep.
It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing.
Well, I went out with a pickaxe because there's 4 inches of ice in the driveway. And I barely got enough tracks so we could get the SUV up and down the driveway. I'm so over winter right now, I could scream.
And every time I pull into the driveway, I think it's like the car wash where I have to get my tires in those 2 tracks.
I have to get out there like an airport landing dude with the flashlights.
This way, that way, this way.
God.
Well, honey, do you know the history of Groundhog Day? Because you know I looked this up.
I actually don't.
Long before anybody in the United States was waiting on a groundhog on February 2nd. What?
This is before Bill Murray?
This is before Bill Murray.
Okay.
Yeah. February 2nd already carried a reputation as a weather hinge day in Europe. In the Christian calendar, it's Candlemas, a midpoint between the winter solstice and spring. So people built folklore around whether winter was holding on or breaking free. And over centuries, a simple bit of logic got repeated as rhyme and proverb. Bright, clear day, you get a sharp shadow. Winter has more fight left. Cloudy day, no shadow. Winter is loosening its grip.
So where'd the groundhog come in?
Hang on, that's the backbone of the ritual. It's
right.
not really about animal magic so much as like sky observation turned into a story that people could remember and celebrate. And according to History.com, when German-speaking immigrants settled in Pennsylvania, also called the Pennsylvania Dutch, which is actually Deutsch, they carried over the old Candlemas weather lore. And in parts of Europe, the animal in the story was commonly a hedgehog or sometimes a badger that was associated, they associated with a creature that would burrow in the winter and then come out.
Gotcha.
So in Pennsylvania, hedgehogs weren't like around.
Yeah.
So the tradition adopted to a local burrow dweller, people did have the groundhog.
Huh.
So the animal is essentially an American casting choice
Wow.
for a European role.
Well, all I can say is don't drive angry.
Don't drive angry. Don't drive angry.
Don't drive angry. And the first official Groundhog Day celebration took place on February 2nd, 1887 in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania. And per tradition, if Punxsutawney Phil sees his shadow on Groundhog Day, it means North Americans are due for 6 more weeks of winter. No shadow sightings are a harbinger of an early spring. And the first Groundhog Day celebration was the brainchild of a local newspaper editor named Clymer Fries, who sold a group of businessmen and groundhog hunters known collectively as the Punxsutawney Groundhog Club on the idea, and the men trekked to a site called Gobbler's Knob, where the inaugural groundhog became the bearer of bad news.
And when was this?
1887.
Okay, all right.
Do you want to know how accurate Phil has been?
That was going to be my next question.
He is worse than a coin flip.
So he's a weatherman. I'm sorry. I just offended every weatherman out there.
He's a horrible prognosticator. If we take his all-time predictions, Phil is only, you want to take a guess how accurate he is?
8%.
39% accurate
all
over
right.
the past 139 years.
Wow.
Now, there's also Staten Island Chuck. Our daughter lives in New York City, so whenever I talk about Punxsutawney Phil, she's like, yeah, Staten Island Chuck, yeah. He apparently is much better at his predictions because Chuck is correct 85% of the time.
Okay.
But he's only been at it for 45 years. So Phil's probably saying, we'll talk
Yeah.
in 100 years, Chuck.
Yeah, get back to me.
Well, I tell you all of this because this case takes place in Pennsylvania, about 12 miles from Punxsutawney. And it's so fascinating. It is a cold case. You know how I hate those. But the family is still looking for answers, and we have to keep saying the names and telling the stories of these people because they deserve to be found, and these families deserve some closure.
Okay.
Before I get started, let me thank some sources. America's Most Wanted, WJAC-TV, Investigation Discovery, Gant News, StateCollege.com, the Doe Network, the The I have PA in my notes. The Pennsylvania State Police.
Or the PA.
The PA Police. The Charlie Project. The Trail Went Cold. And many, many others. You can find all of the sources that I used for this podcast in the show notes.
All right. Well, you ready?
Well, after all of my explanation of Groundhog Day, I think everybody's ready.
Well, then let's do it.
Joey Lynn Offutt was born on October 11th, 1973 in Warrenton, Virginia. Her mother's name is Sherry Hallett. I don't know much about her younger years. I do know that she has siblings. The one I could find who spoke about this case is Joey's sister, Loretta Hungerford Manning.
Loretta would be if you're from Long Island.
Well, she spells her name Luretta, so I apologize, Loretta. But she does. Everybody does seem to say it, Loretta.
Gotcha.
Joey Lynn Offutt was 33 years old in the summer of 2007. She's a petite 5'3" woman. She's very thin. She has brown eyes. She has brownish, reddish hair. And she sometimes wore glasses, and she spoke with a noticeable lisp. Now, I only tell you all of this because that's what she looked like the last time anybody saw her, okay? Joey's loved ones and investigators alike describe her as trusting, naive, religious. She often struggled to hold a job or maintain a relationship. And she had lived somewhat of a nomadic life between Virginia and Texas and Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And her mother has said that she was really, I hate to use the word naive, but she was just very trusting. And according to her mom, Sherry, a psychologist asked her once, "What age do you think Joey is mentally?" And she said, "Well, I think my daughter is kind of like, she's not 33, but maybe she's like 16 or 17.
Mm-hmm.
And the psychologist said, "No, she's more like 14.
Mm.
And Joey had some tendencies to act like a teenager too. You know, she would sulk and she would get angry. And we remember those, anybody who's had a teenager remembers those years well.
Tacky and I hate you.
I try to block those out.
Leanne Morgan, the stand-up comedian who's from Tennessee, once she said she had this line. She was like, "We couldn't eat cereal in our own house because our daughter couldn't stand to hear us breathe or eat cereal." And I thought that's the funniest, most accurate thing I've ever heard
Pretty much is.
in my life.
Yeah.
But Joey had like this on-again, off-again relationship with a man named Alexis Brolin Jr. And Alexis has problems of his own. He'd had some run-ins with the police for drugs and other things. And he had been married before, and he had a son from that marriage. And Joey, too, had a daughter from a previous relationship. But Alexis and Joey had a child together in 2005. Now, there's not a lot about her children to be found, and I'm pretty sure that's because the family is extremely protective of these kids. But they have this little girl, and these two live together in State College, Pennsylvania at the Nittany Gardens Apartments.
Okay.
But again, it's an on-again, off-again relationship because I think these two fought all the time.
Mm.
Now, Joey liked to get online and be in chat groups with people. And at one point, she was talking to a guy in a chat group in California. And he asked for a photo of Joey, and she sent it to him. And he told her he wanted to photograph her and make her a model. Now, think about this. If she sort of has the mentality of a 14-year-old, I mean, I'm sure there are plenty of teenage girls who, especially a long time ago, 20 years ago, would maybe have fallen for something like this.
Sure.
So she sends this photograph to him, and then he changed his tune a bit, and suddenly he wanted her to do pornography. So Alexis was the one who actually alerted Joey's mom, Sherry, that her daughter was talking online with this sketchy guy in the fall of 2006. And a little bit of the pot calling the kettle black because he's kind of sketchy on his own.
Right.
But Sherry, her mom, steps in when Alexis shows Joey's mom the contents of these emails. And she is granted, the grandmother is granted temporary custody of both of her daughters. And sheriff's deputies came to Joey's house when this happens. And that's how she discovers that her mom has filed to take these two girls. And when she sees what's about to happen, Joey loses her mind. And the authorities ended up putting her in handcuffs and taking her away.
Wow.
But after she's taken away, Joey tells her mom, well, you're taking my 2 girls, but I'm pregnant with my 3rd baby. But she did some counseling, and she agreed not to speak to any more strange men online, and she regained custody of her 2 daughters. Now, she's a good mom to these kids. I haven't read anywhere where she neglected any of her children. Now, was she talking to a guy online and that was kind of irresponsible? Sure.
Yeah.
But she always took care of her kids. I do know that.
Okay.
Now, she'd been living with Alexis, the father of her last child, in State College, Pennsylvania, and she's planning on marrying him. And according to Joey's sister, she did have an engagement ring. Joey did have an engagement ring from Alexis.
Okay.
But when she has her 3rd baby, it's a boy. They name him Alexis Lex Brolin III. He's born on June 3rd, 2007. Now, even though these 2 are engaged, Joey's mother bought her a little house in the 90 block of Fugate Drive in Sykesville, Jefferson County, Pennsylvania. And her mom, Sherry, buys the place for Joey thinking that it's going to give her some stability. And she sometimes helped to watch the children, and she liked to have a place where she could stay and be there with Joey and be with her grandchildren as well. So she buys this house. Now, over the 4th of July weekend in 2007, Joey and Alexis and little Lex, along with her 2 older girls, who are now 9 years old and 2 years old, they go to Virginia to see Joey's family. And that way they can meet this new little baby, little Lex.
Okay.
But when it's time to leave, the 9-year-old daughter didn't want to leave Grandma's house. So she stayed behind. It's the summer, and it's 4th of July. She stays behind with her grandmother, with Sherry.
Right.
And when they made it back, when Joey and Alexis made it back to Pennsylvania, Alexis takes their 2-year-old daughter with him so that Joey can have some time alone as a new mom with this little baby boy, Lex, which makes sense. They're not living together. They are engaged. She's really tired. That baby's like 3 weeks old.
Sure.
And so he says, I'll take our daughter, our 2-year-old, with me. You stay home with the baby here in your house and get some rest, and you guys just bond and take care of each other kind of thing.
Sure.
So Alexis and Joey part ways on July 3rd, 2007. He leaves her at this little house that her mom bought for her with Lex after these 2 again have a fight. And this time, according to Alexis, he was criticizing Joey for giving little Lex a bath in the kitchen sink, which babies are bathed in sinks all the time, especially when they're newborns.
Right.
But according to the show Disappeared, Alexis said that the kitchen sink was dirty. But take that comment with a grain of salt because, again, Alexis isn't the most up-and-up guy, and I've never heard anything but the fact that Joey took impeccable care of her children. But because Joey is sort of developmentally delayed, she processes things like a teenager, and Alexis says that Joey couldn't handle the criticism, and that was really a thing for her, and her typical reaction was to get angry. They fought, then she completely shut down, and she would withdraw for a while. She would just disconnect. And according to Loretta, Joey's sister, this is true. It wasn't uncommon for her to not answer her phone or her front door when she would sulk. She would just really be angry, and she would sulk about it.
Okay.
Now, according to Alexis, he left Joey's house just before midnight and went back to his house in Clearfield to give Joey a chance to cool off, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, other than an unconfirmed sighting by a neighbor of Joey on July 4th, when Alexis leaves Joey, this is at least the last time anybody will speak with her or see her again. So there is kind of a unconfirmed sighting of her, but we'll talk about that.
Okay.
But speaking of the 4th of July, Joey was supposed to meet Alexis and their 2-year-old at his family's holiday gathering. I believe it was his grandmother's place for the 4th of July. They had plans for food and fireworks. And on the 4th, Alexis calls Joey several times, and he left lots of messages. And even though they'd had the fight the night before, it is the 4th of July, and he was really surprised that she didn't call him back, because they had all these plans to visit his family and do the fireworks and the cookout and everything.
Right.
But Joey didn't call anybody back. on the 4th of July. The day after, on July 5th, Alexis decided to go to Joey's house to see her. But after knocking on the front door, there's no answer. And since Alexis did not possess a key to this house, he just went home. So he can't get her on the phone, knocks on the door, can't get her, goes home.
Okay.
The next day, on July 6th, a nurse from the home health agency showed up at Joey's home to check on her and baby Lex. And Joey had a scheduled appointment from the state-run agency. Joey's on Medicaid, and the home health nurse, as part of their service, they set up visits with the mom and the baby to make sure they're doing okay. And I can kind of remember this when I was a new mom. They didn't show up, but they would call to make sure that everything was going okay.
Right.
But when the nurse shows up, she rings the doorbell, she knocks, but Joey didn't come to the door, and it was quiet in the house. And not only that, the nurse also noticed that Joey's car, a 1994 red Saturn coupe, it had Virginia plates, JXN8871, and it's got hood damage. There's visible hood damage. And this car is parked in the driveway. And so she's thinking, Joey must be home. Her car is here.
Right.
So she peeks through the window to see if she could see Joey. And there was a baby seat, like for the car, a baby car seat, and a diaper bag in full view through the window.
Which meant that she had not left.
You would think.
Yeah.
But more than that, this nurse can see that outside the door, the mail is starting to pile up. So the nurse contacts Alexis to let him know that she was concerned. She was like, look, I went over there and I can see the diaper bag and I can see the car seat and her car is in the driveway, but she's not coming to the door.
Right.
So you might think he would have called the police for a welfare check on the mother of his new baby.
Yeah.
But he doesn't. And Joey's mother and sister are also calling Joey to get in touch with her. They're not emailing her because Joey's internet service has been cut off due to lack of payment. So they're just calling her. And it's important to note that Sherry bought that house for Joey, and Alexis did not have a key to the house. So her fiance and the father of two of her children did not have a key.
Right.
So no one has seen or heard from Joey since just before midnight on July 4th. Now, although a neighbor apparently has said that she saw Joey walking with a stroller, and when they said hi or hello to her, she didn't acknowledge them. But no one has really been able to confirm that that is true, that that's a true statement.
Okay.
And that's supposedly happened on July 5th.
Okay.
Now, on July 7th, Alexis goes back to Joey's house, and again, there's no answer at the front door. But this time, according to him, Joey's car is not parked in the driveway. He comes back on the 8th, the next day, and the car is parked in the driveway. But again, he knocks. No one answers. He says that he waited for Joey to answer the door for an hour. I don't know if I believe that or not. But it's at this point, 3 or 4 days after he leaves her, that he decides to write a note to apologize for their argument on the 3rd, where they argued over her bathing the new baby in the sink.
In the sink, right. Yeah.
And in this note, he asks for her to call him. 3 days after that, the home health nurse comes back to check on Joey and the baby Lex. And she sees that there's even more mail piled on the front porch. She looks through the window again. She sees the car seat. She sees the diaper bag. They're still in the exact same spot. But she does notice that Joey's car is gone. So she calls Alexis again. And he comes to the house where the nurse is. And she tells him, you need to call the police so they can do a wellness check on your baby mama and your new baby.
Right.
But does he call the police for a wellness check?
No.
No.
Wow.
He leaves another note. He writes her a note and slides it under the door saying, if you don't come to the door tomorrow, I'm going to the police. It is now July 11th.
And the original was the 3rd.
Yes, that's the last time. Well, just before July 4th at midnight. He
Right.
left her right before midnight.
Okay.
At approximately 4 a.m. on Thursday, July 12th, 2007, neighbors on Fugate Drive are jolted awake by a loud explosion from Joey's small home. And when they rushed outside, the house was already in flames. The neighbors called 911, and the local fire crews responded to a fully involved structure fire in Joey's home. Now, once firefighters knocked down the flames and began their search, they made a grim discovery. The remains of a 6-week-old infant was in the bathtub.
Oh, geez.
Joey herself was not in the house. There was no body, no clear sign she'd been inside when the fire ignited, and no immediate indication of where she had gone in the hours or days before. Now, once the fire is out, authorities are able to check the scene, and what they find is a gasoline can. The fire was set deliberately. It's arson. And the gasoline was poured on the baby in particular to destroy the body. Then they spread gasoline around the house before setting it all on fire. And the fire was set in two different places, the bathtub and then in another area of the house. Somebody worked really hard to make sure this baby's body was burned.
How could you do that?
Yeah. And they wanted the house to burn down.
Right.
But it didn't work because a neighbor saw it quite quickly.
Sure.
And the problem is going to be that the baby's body was so badly burned that investigators were unable to determine his exact cause of death, though they were pretty certain that Lex was already dead before the fire started. And in fact, when they conduct an autopsy, they run DNA to make sure it is baby Lex, but they also discover that there is no smoke in the lungs of the baby, which means he was dead before the bathtub, before the fire. He was dead and in the bathtub before the fire.
Right.
Something else investigators find is hamburger meat, raw hamburger meat out on the counter in the kitchen. And this meat had maggots on it.
Ugh.
Now, one of the classes I took in Writers Police Academy was a forensic entomology class. And this is a study of the stages of maggots to determine how long a body has been dead or how long they've been feeding on a body. It was a great class, but I could have done without some of the more audible details of this type of work.
Right.
But it is very accurate for deciding the time of death. And the maggots on the hamburger meat proved to investigators that Joey suddenly left this meat out on the counter sometime between the 3rd and the 5th of July. Now, something else police found interesting, the keys to Joey's car are gone, as is her car, but her purse and her wallet and ID are all still in the house. So it looks like maybe she was taken. There's some foul play at work here. And when police ask around, they discover that even though Joey's car was missing on the 11th, when Alexis and the nurse are both at the house, the car was there on the night of the 12th before the 4 a.m. fire. It was seen by one of the neighbors at 3 a.m. on the side of the house. And remember, every time Alexis comes, sometimes the car is there, sometimes it's missing. And when the nurse comes, sometimes the car is there and sometimes it's missing.
Right.
But it was missing when the house was fully engulfed in flames. Now, since none of the visits to Joey's home took place until the 5th or after, the logical conclusion is that something happened with Joey prior to this, and most disturbingly, poor Lex may have been lying dead inside the house for an entire week before the fire department arrived. Now, most of the evidence seems to suggest there was no activity at the house during this time period, since the mail kept piling up at the front door, and each time Alexis and the nurse looked inside through the window, Lex's baby seat and the diaper bag were still in the same place.
Right.
However, the most perplexing aspect of this mystery is the apparent disappearance and reappearance of Joey's Saturn coupe. But let's talk about Alexis, the baby daddy, for a second.
Yeah.
He makes good on his promise to go to the police on the morning of the 12th. And of course, he gets there and they tell him, well, there's been a fire at Joey's home. And we haven't found Joey, but your 3-week-old son is dead. Now, apparently he was visibly shaken and very upset. 3 days later, Joey's 1994 red Saturn is found in State College, Pennsylvania at the Nittany Garden Apartments, the place where Alexis and Joey lived before. But this Saturn has been backed into the parking space. a maneuver people who were close to Joey said she couldn't do.
Yeah.
She wasn't a good driver, and she wasn't typically a good parker either.
I'm a very good driver.
Of course, I'm an excellent driver.
But they're saying she backed this car into this parking space.
Right.
Well, I think it's hard enough to back a car into a parking space with the backup camera.
and the airport guy with the flashlights.
And the airport guy with the flashlights. But I mean, think about it. I mean, I am so spoiled now not to have to like look over my shoulder. I can just look in the camera and back up. That is, as long as it's not raining and my cameras have water on them, or they're iced over, which has happened as well. And yes, I'm that person who gets out of the car at the stoplight with a tissue and like rubs off the cameras and then hops back in the car again.
These kids don't have any idea what it's like to have to back a car up without a camera.
It's true. And it's 2007 and her car does not have a backup camera, and she's not a person who's very good at parking, and her family is like, she would have never backed this car into a parking spot.
Right.
Yeah. And the seat is way far back, and she is 5'3".
Yeah.
Not only that, several hours had also elapsed between when the car was first parked and when it was discovered. Nobody reported seeing Joey in the area during that window either. And she used to live there. So there were people who would have been like, oh, that's Joey.
Yeah.
And there were no obvious signs of a struggle in or around the car, and no one could say definitively who had driven it there. But it was definitely somebody taller than Joey.
How tall was Alexis?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
By mid-July 2007, Pennsylvania State Police Troop C had an arson, homicide, and an infant victim, a missing 33-year-old mother, and a car abandoned 70-plus miles away in a town tied to Joey's prior life. And, again, Joey's 5'3", and the seats pushed way back for somebody taller.
Sure.
I mean, the questions were coming faster than the answers were. So did Joey die in or around the time of the fire with her body moved or hidden elsewhere? Was she taken or harmed by somebody she knew, possibly connected to her online life or her relationship history?
Mm-hmm.
Or had she, in a mental health crisis, under duress, harmed her child and fled, only to meet with some unknown danger later someplace else?
Right.
Authorities publicly labeled her an endangered missing person, emphasizing that she was, quote, very trusting, naive, and religious, end quote, with a history of meeting people online and moving frequently between states. And her two surviving children were placed in the care of relatives as the double investigation into arson and homicide and her disappearance begins to unfold.
All right.
Now, at first, some investigators considered whether Joey had killed her baby, set the house on fire, and fled in the Saturn. But as evidence accumulated, the maggots showed that she'd been gone for days. The purse and ID in the rubble, no confirmed sightings after July 4th. And the focus shifted hard toward Joey herself being a victim of foul play, which is exactly what I think happened. Mm-hmm. And there are some true crime podcasts out there who say that she just suffered from postpartum depression, that the bathtub had something to do with, bathing him in the sink, and that she killed the baby, or maybe the baby died of SIDS, and then she panicked and left. But I don't get the car coming back and forth and back and forth.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what happened. I think there was foul play. State police later case reviews have explored several theories, and here they are.
Okay.
Joey was killed before the fire, either in or near Sykesville. The house was torched to destroy forensic evidence, and her body was removed. Someone connected to her past in State College harmed her and staged the Saturn at Nittany Gardens to either send a message or confuse the timeline. One that's not very popular is what a couple of podcasts have said, is that she was in that Joey was in a psychiatric or an emotional crisis, and she harmed little Lex and then left and then was later killed or died accidentally. But what about the last person to see her alive? What about the man who never called the police to do a wellness check, even when a nurse specifically asked him to?
Yeah.
Well, it turns out, They want to have this whole, she has this online life. Well, they find Joey's computer. It's still in the house. It hasn't been burnt to the point where they can't retrieve any information off of it.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't even have internet service, remember? Because they don't email her. Her internet service had been cut off when she disappeared.
Right.
Because she hadn't paid.
Sure.
But when they looked at her search history and time online, there wasn't anything hinky that might lead investigators to believe that she'd met her demise by meeting up with a stranger for that very reason.
Right.
But what they did find was that back in February of 2005, Joey had joined an online chat group for single mothers where she made 525 posts.
Wow.
Over the course of the next 2.5 years.
Hmm.
And in her posts, she often talked about her rocky relationship with Alexis. She claimed that she feared potential physical harm from him for both her and her children, and had gotten a protection from abuse order against Alexis at one point. In 2006, Joey posted about how Alexis's son had sexually assaulted her oldest daughter, which led to her being removed from their home. So Joey had to fight to get her back. However, by March of 2007, Joey started posting that she had grown a lot more optimistic about her relationship with Alexis. Now, while she said that she was not ready to completely trust him, she believed they could work things out and eventually get married. And she also mentioned that Alexis was a felon and a former drug addict, but that having children had completely changed him.
Okay.
And Joey's last official post in the group took place on June 5th, not July, June 5th, just 2 days after she had little Lex, where she announced the birth of her newborn son, and she hoped to post photos of him soon. So the police question Alexis. He's interviewed multiple times, and he's very cooperative with the investigation. He let them look at his computer and his phone records, and he even agreed to a polygraph. Now, he did not pass the polygraph, but he didn't fail the polygraph either. It was inconclusive. So they asked him to take it again, and he said, nah, I'll pass. Not going to do it twice.
Yeah.
And many wanted to stand on this theory that something happened to the baby. Either she had postpartum depression, which was what Alexis told the police. They never found any evidence of this. He also said she was taking medication for postpartum depression. They couldn't locate an actual prescription for her for postpartum depression.
Right.
Now, the investigators have never publicly named Alexis as a suspect, and multiple sources emphasize that no one has been formally ruled out, including him.
Right.
True crime analysis note logistical problems with theories that put him at the Sykesville fire scene and then driving the Saturn to State College. He was reportedly accounted for the morning of July 12th with his children in Clearfield, which kind of compresses that window that he would have to drive to Sykesville for a 4 a.m. fire, stage a car 60 miles away in State College, and then get back without leaving the kids alone for too long.
Well, and he'd have to have a ride back.
And he would have to have a ride back.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
There are people who have reconstructed the timeline, and they argue that while he had motive and opportunities rooted in relationship stress, his documented cooperation and those timeline issues make a solo offender theory centered on him less than persuasive than one involving another party or somebody else moving the car entirely.
Right.
Now, after questioning Alexis and the tons of rumors flying around this tiny little town, there was no other person of interest, and Joey's disappearance and the death of her baby goes cold. So what are the possibilities here? Joey drove the car to the old apartment, Alexis drove the car there, or Joey and someone else who was in the car with her, they were driving the car and she told them where to go? Because whoever was driving this car knew about where she used to live with her fiance, Alexis.
Right.
But some of the questions we're left with is whether the offender is an intimate acquaintance. You know, is this somebody who really knew her?
Right.
And did they know her from Sykesville, where she lived in this little house that her mom bought for her? Or from State College, Pennsylvania, where she lived in the apartments? Or was this somebody she met online, which I don't think is true because she didn't have internet forever.
Sure.
Now, whether Lex was killed intentionally as a part of a larger crime or accidentally or in the course of some other event, and maybe that needed a cover-up, and whether Joey was killed on the same day as Lex, or days earlier or days later, and where are her remains? So again, way more questions than answers.
Right.
And the full autopsy findings, the fire scene reconstruction, and the DNA trace evidence that was recovered from the house and the Saturn, they swept the car, the Saturn, the police have never released that information to the public.
I wonder why.
Well, it's an ongoing case.
Okay.
It's an ongoing cold case. Complete phone, digital, and financial timelines for Joey and key people in her life in early July 2007 have been kept from the public. Now, it's important to know that this, again, is an ongoing case, but a New York true crime podcast filed right to know requests in Pennsylvania to obtain baby Lex's death records. And while the Office of Open Records approved the request, the county appealed the decision, and in June of 2023, the courts ruled against the podcast getting this information. Now, any private statements from potential witnesses who may know more have not come forward. Those could still be out there, and the police could have these statements, but nobody knows about them.
Right.
On June 27th, 2016, Joey's family had her declared legally deceased. They didn't want to do this, but it was so Joey's 2 remaining children could collect Social Security death benefits that would help their grandparents to raise them and take care of them.
Sure.
And despite her shortcomings, despite Joey's shortcomings and we all have them for sure,
Right.
Joey again was a good mom to her kids. And because they did declare her legally dead, she was able to take care of them just a little bit after her death. As for Alexis, well, if you think he was the one who killed Joey, moved the car several times, and only went to the police after he'd set the fire to his dead child in his fiance's home when he was forced to because he was there with the nurse, you're not alone. Now, I've heard an interview with Joey's sister, Loretta, and although this case is cold, her family has not given up looking for Joey. The town Joey lived in is this teeny tiny little town. It's 12 miles from Punxsutawney, and there are less than 1,000 people living there. And Joey's sister said that when the house burned and they were taking the baby's body out and the police were there and the firefighters were there, that the people in the neighborhood and the town, they were sitting in the front yards in lawn chairs watching the scene. They're watching, Joey's real life and grief play out like it's an episode of 2020.
Wow.
But according to this interview I heard with Loretta, Joey's family believes that somebody knows something because it is such a small town. Now, either somebody knows something in Sykesville or somebody in Alexis's circle knows something. Somebody must have seen something.
Right.
But many of the people who lived on Joey's street in 2007, a lot of them are dead, and others have just moved away. So there's plenty of circumstantial evidence that would point to Alexis, but he also has alibis for some of those times. So is he just a horrible person? And the answer to that is yes, because you see, Alexis was part of a huge, and when I say huge, I mean huge meth ring in Pennsylvania.
Oh, really?
In June of 2020, 38 defendants were initially indicted in a massive takedown of a methamphetamine ring that was centered in Clearfield County, and it was supposed to be across multiple counties in Pennsylvania. And where did he live? He lived in Clearfield.
Yeah.
Included as the leader of this drug ring is Alexis. He's one of the 38. He's running the ring in Clearfield and the surrounding areas, and this is a huge federal takedown. They found like 10 guns in the house where he was running his part of the drug ring, and like 2 pounds of meth. In 2024, he was sentenced to 17 years in federal prison. Now, does that make him a murderer? No.
Right.
But again, he was the last person to see her, and he did nothing in the early days to really check on the mother of his child.
Yeah.
And he tried very hard to act like she was alive in those days between July 3rd and the 12th, when he goes to the police after the house has burned down. Her car seat was pushed back further than her 5'3" body would be able to handle. But police even used luminol inside her Saturn, and there were 0 traces of blood. They did not do a luminol test on the car that Alexis was driving at the time. Now, the police have never named Alexis as a suspect, but he has never been completely eliminated either. It's been 19 years since Joey went missing and baby Lex was murdered. And still, there are so many unanswered questions. But Joey's family wants answers.
Sure.
Joey's case has been featured on America's Most Wanted twice, and on the show Disappeared on Investigation Discovery. Many, many true crime podcasters have covered the case, all just to help spread the word. And Joey's family continues to keep up a website devoted to her case at findjoey.org. There is a reward for information leading to her or her body, and you can also call the Joey tip line at 1-877-440-JOEY or 5639, and you can contact the Pennsylvania State Police at 814-371-4652 or the Pennsylvania Crime Stoppers at 1-800-4PA-TIPS. Today, Joey would be 52 years old. Meanwhile, Alexis will be in prison, most likely until the day he dies. But that is the unsolved case of Joey and her baby Lex. And that's all I have to say about that.
All right, I have a couple takes on this. Number one, it seems awfully coincidental that since Alexis was involved with meth, listen, there's a lot of turf wars when it comes to drugs and and things like that. So it seems very, as you would say, hinky that he's involved with this kind of thing and that it wouldn't be a part of that.
Well, and two, even if he has an alibi, he could certainly have somebody be like, hey, I need you to move this car, I need you to do this or that, and here's some meth to do it. And is that person going to come forward? Was that person one of the 38 people that was actually indicted in that whole meth ring? I mean, the thing is, she wasn't seen after the 4th of July, if you believe this one neighbor, and that was never really corroborated. The police couldn't really corroborate that story, I don't think. So if she really wasn't seen and the maggots on the meat show that she was out of that house or taken, because her family was like, she wouldn't leave just raw meat rotting on the counter for days and days and days.
Right.
So that's a clear indication of probably when she was taken.
Right.
But the car is in and out and in and out. And it's not just Alexis who says this, but also the nurse, and then the mail piling up, and all the things that show that she just wasn't there.
Right. Well, and the second take on this story was very difficult to follow because he was Alexis and she was Joey.
I know.
Wait a minute.
I know. And every time I read his name, I thought of A Little Bit Alexis.
La, 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 la. A little bit Alexis.
From Schitt's Creek.
Yeah, exactly.
I just couldn't help myself.
Yeah.
I know.
All right, well, let's move on from that and do a little Bless Your Heart.
Well, bless your heart.
All right, number one, I'm calling When It Hits the Fan.
Okay.
A Florida woman was arrested after she threatened people inside of a hair salon with a machete.
Oh.
According to reports, the woman, Tracy Denise George Sirleaf, was inside the hair salon acting erratically.
Okay.
She got up and left, but returned with a machete. She threw herself onto the glass windows and swung the machete towards the people inside the salon.
Oh my gosh.
When officers showed up, they arrested the woman and she pooped in the back seat of the cop car while the officers interviewed witnesses.
What? Okay, A, who carries a machete around with them?
Yeah.
And B,
Who
well,
poops in the car?
well, I bet there are plenty of cops who could tell stories.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. All right, number 2.
Yes.
You can please some of the people some of the time.
And none of the people, none of the time.
Well, a guy in Virginia went to a Taco Bell on Monday, but only had 70 cents, so an employee felt bad
Aw.
and gave him a free taco.
Oh, that's nice.
And then the guy pulled a knife because he was upset at the type of free taco they'd given him.
He wanted a chalupa.
He was arrested on several charges.
Oh, man. If you're going to give me charity, give me what I want.
Yeah, exactly. All right, number 3, and finally,
And finally,
be aware of your surroundings,
okay.
especially when you're committing a crime. As 2 men waited in line at the coffee shop to pay their bill, a third cut in front of them. He threw a drink at the clerk and demanded all the money from the till. Temporarily surprised, the men quickly recovered and handcuffed the crook. Apparently, in his rush, the criminal didn't notice they were police officers in full uniform.
How do you miss that?
He was hyper-focused. So there's your idiots for the week.
Yeah. When you go into a place, if you see a police officer and they like turn around and look at you, do you like nod at them and go, officer?
Yeah, I always
Hello.
say, thank you for your service. Appreciate you. That's what I say to them.
I mean, I think that's very nice. They thanked my dad for his service today when he was checking in at the
Nice.
at the airport because he got free bags on Allegiant because he was a veteran.
Oh,
and
wow.
we didn't know that. Of course, we paid for bags, and then he got free bags too.
What do you get if you're a veterinarian?
I don't know.
Okay, just
I
checking.
don't know,
All
but
right.
they thanked him for his service
That's
too, which I
nice.
thought was very nice.
That's
I thought
great.
was very nice. Well, if you have a bless your heart or you've got a story about something that happened in the back seat of a cruiser, I know we have police officers who listen.
Yeah.
I would really love to hear some of these. Really love to. And you can be anonymous. We promise not to say who you are if you want to give us an anonymous story about things that have happened in the back of your cruiser.
Our ex-police officer friend out there in California, Chuck Urso.
Oh, yeah. So if you want to give us one of those stories, all you have to do is go to hitchedhomicide.com. When you get there, there's a pull-down menu, and you can also tell us about your brush with true crime or suggest a case. I can't get anything in the right order today.
It's all right.
That's we've been snowed in for too long. It's like frozen my brain.
Yeah.
That's my amazing husband out there.
And that's my beautiful bride in the booth.
Join us next time on Hitched Homicide.
Bye, y'all.